G'day, it's Oscar. We're up to question number 9, I think we're up to. Excellent progress that everyone's making. I had a wonderful phone call from somebody today who said to me, Oscar, you know when you're recording those videos you're putting up on LinkedIn? I don't know why, but I feel like you're talking to me. Thanks, Robert, for the feedback. Much appreciated. This week's question comes from Belinda. She says, Oscar, I've got 2 departments and they're always at loggerheads. Conversation and debate just goes on and on and on. Oscar, how do you tie-break debate? How do you stop debate? How do you listen for the point at which debate isn't productive? And we need to make a decision, a commitment, and move on and get into the implementation of what we're debating. I like this question, Belinda, because it shows up in our primary listening preferences. Most people aren't aware that they have listening filters. Some of us have a filter where we prefer progress, and we prefer sequence, and we prefer action. And others are very comfortable with ambiguity. They're comfortable staying in a space where the debate happens for its own sake. They're not necessarily interested in progress because they don't feel they're ready to progress. So a couple of tips how to listen to notice when it's time to move on from debate. Here they are. The first one is, have you set up the meeting and its purpose that it's clear to all the participants that by the end of this meeting, we are going to make a decision and implement the actions? If you haven't, you're likely to have continuous debate. If you're in a position where you've clearly communicated by the end of this meeting, by the end of this project, by the end of this process, we want to get to a point where we implement a decision, fantastic. Here's some questions you can use during that dialogue as the leader in that conversation or the host. Number 1, typically people are arguing about ingredients. They're arguing about this versus that, detail 1 versus detail 2, outcome 1 versus outcome 2, trade-off 1 versus trade-off 2. This is what the argument is about. As the host, have you set up a process where people understand how to debate the idea, and are they clear on how a decision will be made? Is it a majority of people? Is it a majority of people plus 1? Does the host have a super vote which has more power than other people? These are things you need to think about as a host. Have you set up a process where debate is healthy, where debate is constrained because we don't have infinite resources? And often the debate happens for its own sake. As the host, rather than continuing the debate, notice when the debate becomes repetitive or stalls in progress. Move the conversation from wide, broad dialogue to very narrow and specific questions. It could be something as simple as this. On a scale of 1 to 10, where do you think we are on making a decision about this? No matter what the score is, you simply can ask them this question. What's one additional piece of information that we need so we make a decision in the next 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes? On a scale of 1 to 10, where are we at? If they say we're a 4, simply ask them, what would it take to move it to a 5? Because once we're at 5, we'll make a decision. If they say we're at 9, it's time to make a decision because it's unlikely that you're ever going to get to a 10. So Belinda, when it comes to breaking the deadlocks, moving from debate to decision and implementation, move from broad to super narrow. Ask a really simple, narrow question about what would it take to move from the current state to the decision state. but ask it through the lens of a very clear numeric value. Numeric brings precision, specificity, and sequence to the conversation. So, Belinda, I'll be curious to know how you go applying this process. By the way, right now I'm in the middle of recording the audio version of How to Listen, and we've had some fun. One day I woke up with a very nasally voice, according to my producer, so we stopped production, and today we had a chainsaw in the background, so we had to stop completely. We're up to chapter 4, where I'm talking to Dame Evelyn Glennie about how to listen with your whole body. I'm fascinated by this chapter. It's called Hear, See, and Sense. If you'd like to order a copy, you can follow the link below. I'm Oscar Trimboli, and along with the Deep Listening Ambassadors, we're on a quest to create 100 million deep listeners in the world. You've given us the greatest gift of all. You've listened to us. Thanks for listening.